Damian Lillard was on JJ Redick, and you talked about recently, like you kind of like falling out of love with the NBA because like it's kind of ridiculous at this point
Oh
where
yeah.
Paul George will sign a contract and then like the next day he's literally asking to get traded to the Clippers, and then
Right.
Damian Lillard, a lot of people didn't like it and they said it just sounded like an excuse not to win a championship, but he's like, when I came into the league, it's like I was taught the game meant more than myself, and the game is bigger. Of basketball is bigger, and then it's like the journey in the regular season matters. Those moments in the
Mm.
playoffs matter. It's like we can't just be looking ahead to the NBA finals. It's like I don't mind people hopping teams, but it's like people play and players just have this sense of entitlement to go out there and win NBA championships, and they feel like he's like player he doesn't like young players coming into the league and being like, "Oh, is it this guy's team?" It's like your team. He's like, "When I came into the league, I had to earn having my own team." He's like, teams are going out there drafting players like a John
Mhm.
Morant or Luca, like as great as they are, it's like you still have to earn it being your team, and it's not your team, it is the team. And it's like
Right.
that's kind of been the problem with
Mm.
basketball right now. And I feel like the teams that have been successful, like the Warriors, Steph Curry is one of the most selfless superstars of all time. LeBron James is a facilitator, and while it is his team, it's like he is one of the most talented, if not the most talented basketball player of all time. And then
Right.
Kevin Durant, pretty selfless guy. Giannis, selfless guy. So it's like you look at all these teams that are succeeding in the NBA, they all have a selfless superstar. They all have a guy that puts the team in front of themselves. So thoughts on Damian Lillard, kind of breaking down. He's saying he doesn't like really the NBA culture where it's going right now.
No.
Echoed some things you were saying, and then thoughts on just the overall success that the teams in the NBA that are winning are having.
Yeah, so like with Damian Lillard saying about NBA cultures, one of the things that's really just kind of soured me a little bit with the NBA was I think it kind of started with Kevin Durant, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
Just the way that it went from the conversation shifted from like I gotta revert back. So it kind of really started when LeBron left the Cavs to join the Heat,
Yeah.
and he joined two win titles with his buddies. Which, for looking back, I don't think it was as harmless as it was. The Cavaliers just didn't work in Cleveland. He put in the work. Dwayne Wade, he put in the work. He did win a title. Trailblazers, and the Raptors. I mean, with Chris Bosh, they spent their time there. They form a super team. All right, that's one thing. Same goes with the big three Celtics. But then Kevin Durant comes along. He goes out and joins the Warriors, who just won the NBA title. Or just lost. I mean, they were 73-9. They had won a title before him. He joins to get a title. And the narrative shifts from being a team that's built like the Warriors, or, I guess assembled in this case, to the conversation shifts. So now it's only about titles. And from there, I think a lot of players saw Kevin Durant and kind of changed the way they were going to do business. And now the NBA has become it's title or bust. If you don't win a title, you're a loser, basically. James Harden, seen as like hasn't had his playoff success, he hasn't been legitimized with a title. And I think even Dame Lillard, who's a prime example of this, also,
Yeah.
he's kind of the opposite of this, where it's like if he doesn't win a title, he's not going to have as much of a legacy in this NBA world. When if imagine if Dame Lillard had two titles, he'd be considered an all-time great. So it's like the way that's switched, where everyone's just joining forces and there's a lot of player mobility and movement. Part of it's great for the player. There's a lot of player empowerment, but at the same time, you have players like Paul George who requests a trade from the Thunder a year after signing that massive contract.
Yeah.
And then Kevin Durant with the Nets, you re-sign, you have a 4-year deal with them, and you demand to be traded in the offseason, and basically just bossing the entire front office around. Kawhi Leonard has been kind of flaky as well with some of his teams. So it's like the culture in the NBA now is just so toxic. And it's like, I don't root for anybody anymore. I don't like rooting for anybody in this NBA anymore because everyone's just title or bust, which it's fine to be competitive. That's the way the titles are. But it's like,
Yeah.
I root for the players like Steph Curry and people
Giannis.
like Giannis and
Yeah.
people like Luca, who is still young and he's going to build a great team.